You ever wake up and realize your own kids think you're a burden? I did. One Tuesday morning, the sun still rubbing its eyes, and me, an 82-year-old widower named Franklin D. Reed, blinking at a locked bedroom door. Yep, locked. From the outside. This can't be real, I muttered. But it was. My son, Derek, and daughter-in-law, Janice, had pulled a fast one on me. I overheard them weeks ago whispering about placing Dad somewhere safe. They thought I had dementia, just because I accidentally microwaved my dentures. Once. Big whoop. Anyway, that day I realized I wasn't going to the grocery store like I asked. I was being transported, like a package, to a place called Whispering Pines Assisted Living. For your own good, they said. Whispering Pines. More like whispering prisons. You want to know the worst part? My granddaughter, Emily, helped them. She used to braid my hair when she was little and call me her Captain Grandpa. But now, she was on the team that staged an intervention. Grandpa, this is better for you, she said, not meeting my eyes. Better for your inheritance, maybe, I snapped. She cried. I didn't. The van rolled up, and suddenly, I wasn't a man anymore. I was a liability. The smell of disinfectant hit me like a punch in the face when we pulled into Whispering Pines. And let me tell you, there was nothing whispering about the screams coming from the dementia ward. The food was gray. The nurses were robots. And the manager, a smug guy named Rick, had the nerve to call me Sport. Don't worry, Sport, you'll love bingo night. I didn't. And I let them know. Rick, I built 3 companies from scratch. One of them made the chairs in this dump. You think I want to rot here counting jelly beans in a jar? He laughed. Sure, Sport. That's what they all say. I made a plan that night. Because if my family wanted me locked away and Rick wanted me docile, I was going to give them all a story they'd never forget. Step 1, regain power. Step 2, buy this hellhole. Step 3, burn it all to the ground. Figuratively. Mostly. My first friend was Margaret Cho. No, not the comedian. This Margaret was a former federal judge with sharper eyes than a hawk and the mouth of a sailor. They think I have Alzheimer's. I just hate people, she told me, slurping her jello like it was champagne. She became my informant. Then there was Curtis, ex-Marine. Wore his Vietnam dog tags under his polo. Guy had a laptop in his room no one knew about. Said he was just checking email. In reality, he was running facial recognition software on the staff. Rick used to work for a rehab center that got shut down for embezzlement, Curtis said one night. It's public record. Want me to print it? I grinned. Turns out Whispering Pines wasn't just boring. It was bleeding money. And Rick. He was funneling cash into ghost vendors. I knew the game. I did that in '85, legally. With Margaret's legal brain and Curtis's digital claws, we built a case. We tracked funds. Found shell companies. Rick was siphoning $38,000 a month. We can go to the cops, Curtis said. No, I replied. We're buying the building first. Then we bury him. My third company, the one that made office chairs? I sold it 15 years ago. But the royalties still came in. I also had a tidy stockpile of Apple shares from 1996. Do the math. I called Linda, my old banker. Franklin D. Reed. Alive and kicking. Alive, kicking, and ready to buy an assisted living facility. Quietly. She didn't even blink. She arranged an LLC in my grandson's name, the good grandson. Within 6 weeks, we were ready. The papers were signed. Whispering Pines was mine. I walked into the lobby with a clipboard and a suit. Rick didn't recognize me. You again? What now, Sport? I handed him the deed. You're standing in my lobby. Which makes you the Sport now. Rick turned pale. This is a joke. Nope. This is chapter 1 of your unemployment. I fired him in front of the entire staff and residents. Curtis filmed it. Margaret toasted with Ensure. Funny thing about ownership. Suddenly, Derek and Janice wanted to reconnect. We were just trying to help you, Dad, Derek whined. You locked me in a facility like a dog crate. That help. It was Emily's idea. Janice squeaked. Emily called crying. You want to braid my hair again, Captain Grandpa? I asked. She hung up. I didn't burn Whispering Pines down. I rebuilt it. Staff got raises. Food became edible. We started Poker Tuesdays and Wine Wednesdays. And every new resident got a card that read, You matter. You are not a burden. Welcome. So no, I'm not crazy. I didn't need a home. I needed respect. And now, I walk the halls of Whispering Pines as its proud owner, greeting residents by name, sipping real coffee, and watching episodes of Matlock in peace. My story isn't a tragedy. It's a warning. You try to lock me up? I'll buy the damn lock, the door, and the building. And then I'll set you free. You want to know how I got this fire? It was 1964. I was 19. My dad had a stroke and his brothers tried to sell his land out from under him. I watched the man who taught me to throw a baseball get wheeled out while his own siblings cashed in. I swore right then, never let anyone decide your fate if you can help it. That memory, it carried me through. It was time to build something more permanent. I created the Franklin Cares Foundation. Purpose: to fund upgrades to under-resourced senior homes, provide scholarships for geriatric nursing, and legal services for seniors being railroaded into facilities against their will. Margaret became the legal director. Curtis ran cybersecurity. We don't age quietly, I told our board. We age like thunder. CNN called. Then CBS. Then a Netflix docuseries team. You really bought the facility they put you in? No. I liberated it. Overnight, I became a symbol. Hashtags. Memes. Even a t-shirt. Hashtag not your sport. Janice sued me for emotional distress. I countersued. For attempted elder imprisonment. I won. Other residents' families came forward. Some ashamed. Some grateful. A senator's aide called. Wanted to name legislation after me. I declined. I'm not a hero. I'm just a man who said no. That line made it into 3 newspapers. Last week, I got a handwritten note. From Emily. I was wrong, Grandpa. I believed them instead of you. I'm sorry. I miss Captain Grandpa. Can we talk?
It was mine. Bought with my money. Signed under my name. Yes, I had let them take over after I moved in. Yes, they paid some bills now. But legally, the deed was still in my possession. And suddenly, silence became my best weapon. Every insult, every cold shoulder, every reminder that I was unwanted. I took it. I pocketed it. I stored it away. Because when the time came, I was going to cash all those chips in. And when I did, David and Amanda wouldn't just be speechless. They'd be homeless. When people underestimate you, they hand you the greatest weapon, invisibility. David and Amanda thought I was too old, too tired, too dependent to do anything. They thought their words bounced off me like stones in a pond. What they didn't realize was that every cruel word was sharpening me. And one Tuesday morning, while Amanda was at work and David was at the gym, I picked up the phone and made a call. Not to a friend, not to a doctor, to my lawyer. Mr. Thompson, he said warmly, I wasn't expecting to hear from you. Everything all right? I chuckled. Depends how you define all right. I need to make some changes. Urgently. There was a pause. Changes to the will? Yes, I said. And the deed. It's time to put things in order. But it has to be quiet. Very, very quiet. He hesitated for a moment, then said, Understood. Why don't you come into the office tomorrow? That night at dinner, Amanda complained about the electric bill. David nodded along. I stirred my soup silently, hiding the smirk tugging at the corner of my mouth, because while they sat there counting pennies, I was about to move dollars in ways they couldn't imagine. The next day, I put on my best jacket, the one Margaret bought me years ago for Christmas. I told Amanda I had a doctor's appointment. She barely looked up from her phone. "Fine, don't be late for dinner," she said. I wasn't late, but I came back with something far more important than medicine. At the lawyer's office, I signed papers that changed everything. First, I rewrote my will. No longer was my son the sole beneficiary. Instead, a portion went to charities Margaret cared about, a portion to my old college, and the bulk, yes, the bulk, to my granddaughter, Lily. Sweet Lily. She was only 9, innocent, untouched by her parents' greed. Every time she hugged me, I remembered why I kept going. She'd never called me a burden. To her, I was just grandpa. And that was enough. Second, the house deed. Still in my name. Still under my control. My lawyer helped me draw up papers that would make Amanda and David's jaws drop when the time was right. But revenge is best served slow. I couldn't just hand them the shock. I had to let them dig their own grave first. So I played the role of the quiet, defeated old man. When Amanda snapped, "Why are you always in the living room? Go read in your room." I obeyed. When David sighed and muttered, "God, I can't wait until this place is ours," I stayed silent. When they whispered about nursing homes, I didn't argue, because every insult was another shovel of dirt covering the coffin of their own arrogance. One night, as I sat alone in my room, I heard them outside the door. "Amanda, we'll get him into a home. Once he's gone, we can finally renovate this place. Open kitchen, new floors." David, "Yeah, and once the will transfers everything will be set." Amanda, "Exactly. He's holding us back. He'll be gone soon." They laughed. I stared at the ceiling, biting back my own grin. "Gone soon," I whispered to myself. "We'll see about that." Over the next few weeks, I prepared. I moved some of my savings into a separate account, one Amanda didn't know about. I met quietly with my lawyer again to finalize the paperwork. I even left a sealed envelope in his office with instructions. If anything happened to me suddenly, David and Amanda were to be cut out completely. The best part? They had no idea. They thought they were in control, that I was their puppet. But in reality, I was the one pulling the strings. Then came the moment I knew it was time to strike. It was Lily's birthday. The house was filled with balloons and noise. Amanda threw a big party, not out of love, but because she wanted to show off. She invited her friends, made David wear a stiff shirt, and practically shoved me into the corner like an old piece of furniture. I watched as she bragged to her friends about the house and their plans to renovate soon. One friend asked, "Oh, so this place is in your name?" Amanda smirked and nodded. Practically. I nearly laughed into my cup of punch, because practically wasn't legally. Not yet. Not ever. That night, after everyone left and Lily was asleep, Amanda poured herself a glass of wine and said, "David, I think we should start looking into nursing homes. He's getting slower." David didn't even hesitate. "Yeah, let's do it." That was it. That was the breaking point. Because if they wanted me gone, I was going to give them exactly what they asked for, but not the way they expected. There are moments in life you never forget. Weddings, births, deaths. And then there are moments where you finally stand up after being pushed down too long. This was mine. It started on a Thursday morning. I came into the kitchen, moving slower than usual. Amanda was scrolling on her phone, sipping coffee. David sat at the table, already dressed for work. I cleared my throat. "I overheard you both the other night about the nursing home." Amanda didn't even look up. "Oh, Dad, don't take it personally. It's just realistic." David gave me a half-hearted shrug. "We're just thinking about the future. You know, it's not easy taking care of you." I set my cane down on the table and leaned on it, staring at them. "You're right. It isn't easy. For either of us." Amanda chuckled, dismissive. Glad you understand. I smiled then, a smile so calm it actually made her frown. Which is why, I said, I've decided it's time for a change. That Saturday, I told them I'd arranged a family meeting. Amanda rolled her eyes but agreed, mostly because she assumed it was about money. By afternoon, we were all seated in the living room. David on the couch, Amanda with her arms crossed, and Lily upstairs in her room playing. I sat in my chair, the only piece of furniture in that house I'd actually brought with me, and then I laid a folder on the coffee table. What's this? Amanda asked. Papers, I said simply. Things you should probably know before you keep planning your future. She smirked. Finally, about time you talk about the will. Exactly, I said. I opened the folder slowly, savoring the moment. Let's start with the house. You've been telling your friends it's yours. Amanda, you even brag about renovations. But here's the truth. I slid the deed across the table. My name, bold and clear, stamped across the top. This house is mine. Legally. Fully. And it always has been. David leaned forward, squinting at the paper. Amanda's smirk faltered. What are you talking about? She snapped. We've been paying bills. Yes, you've been paying bills. Renters pay bills too. That doesn't make them owners. Her mouth opened, then closed. I leaned back. For months you called me a burden. You talked about putting me in a nursing home. But here's the problem with your little plan. You don't get to make that decision. Because this roof, these walls, they don't belong to you. David ran a hand through his hair. Dad, come on. This isn't necessary. Oh, but it is, I said sharply, because you both assumed you were entitled to everything I have. So let me clarify. I pulled out the second set of papers. My new will. I changed it. Completely. Amanda's face drained of color. W, what do you mean? I mean you don't inherit the bulk anymore. Lily does. My granddaughter. The only person in this house who treats me like family. She'll get the money, the assets, the security, not you. Amanda's wine-painted lips trembled. You can't do that. Actually, I said calmly, I can, and I did. David slammed his hand on the table. Why are you doing this? After everything I've done for you. I laughed bitterly. Everything you've done for me? David, I raised you alone. I gave up my life so you could have yours. And now you sit there and let your wife call me a burden? No, you don't get to rewrite history. You don't get to erase me. Amanda stood up, her face red. This is manipulation. You can't seriously think this is fair. Fair, I said, my voice rising for the first time. Fair is not what you gave me. Fair is not calling your own father useless. Fair is not plotting to throw me into a nursing home while you measure the curtains for your remodel. So no, Amanda, you don't get to talk to me about fair. For the first time since I'd moved into that house, the silence belonged to me. They had no words, just stunned faces. And I wasn't finished. One more thing, I said, pulling out a final envelope. I've also spoken with my lawyer. If anything happens to me suddenly, if I'm pushed, rushed, or accidentally neglected, everything goes directly to charity. Not you, not a dime. Amanda gasped. David's face turned pale. So you see, I said quietly, if I'm really such a burden, your best option is to keep me alive and well. The room was ice. You could have heard a pin drop. Amanda finally sputtered, You planned this. I looked her dead in the eye. I didn't plan this. You did. Every insult, every smirk, every time you called me a burden, you laid the bricks for this outcome. All I did was finish the wall. David slumped back on the couch, rubbing his temples. Amanda stormed upstairs, slamming the bedroom door so hard the frame rattled. And me? I sat in my chair, folded the folder back up, and for the first time in years, I felt peace. That night, Lily tiptoed into my room. Grandpa, she whispered, are you okay? Mommy and Daddy are mad. I pulled her close, kissed her forehead, and whispered back, Don't worry, sweetheart. Everything's going to be just fine. One day you'll understand. After that night, nothing in the house was ever the same. Amanda didn't smile at me anymore. Not that her smiles were genuine before, but now they were gone completely, replaced with simmering bitterness every time she passed me in the hallway. David stopped trying to joke with me, stopped trying to pretend everything was normal. He couldn't even look me in the eye most days. And honestly, I was fine with that, because the balance of power had shifted. For the first time in months, I wasn't the one walking on eggshells. They were. If Amanda raised her voice at me, all I had to do was tilt my head and smile, and she'd bite her tongue. If David started complaining about how hard it was taking care of me, I'd gently remind him, well, son, you always have the option of moving out. But then again, this house stays with me, and eventually with Lily. That usually shut him up. You might think I reveled in it, that I became vindictive, flaunting my control at every turn. But that's the thing, I didn't need to. The truth was enough. They had spent months reminding me I was a burden. And now, the reality hung over their heads like a storm cloud. I was the one holding up the roof over their lives. One wrong move, one cruel word too many, and the ground beneath them could vanish overnight. The irony? I didn't even want revenge at first. All I ever wanted was respect, a little kindness, the same loyalty I'd shown David his whole life. But when people corner you, when they mistake your silence for weakness, sometimes the only way to remind them of your worth is to let them choke on the consequences of their own cruelty. Months passed. Lily grew closer to me than ever. She'd sneak into my room with her storybooks, curl up beside me, and listen to me read. Her laughter reminded me of Margaret, and it was in those moments I knew I'd done the right thing, because protecting my granddaughter's future and showing her what strength looks like mattered more than anything. As for David and Amanda, they became careful, not loving, not apologetic, just careful. Amanda stopped bragging about the house to her friends. She never mentioned renovations again. She started cooking family dinners, though the bitterness lingered in every spoonful. David tried to make small amends, offering to drive me to appointments, asking how I was feeling. But his words always fell hollow, like someone rehearsing lines they didn't believe in. I didn't hate him, but I no longer trusted him either. And maybe that was punishment enough. Sometimes, late at night, I think back to that moment in the kitchen. His cold voice, her smirk, that sentence, "You're nothing but a burden." And I realized they were right in a way. I was a burden, but not the kind they meant. I wasn't the burden of bills or responsibility. I was the burden of truth, the weight of a lifetime of sacrifice they could never repay. The reminder that everything they had, every comfort, every brick of the house, came from me, and that weight, it was too heavy for them to carry. So I carried it myself, quietly, proudly, until the day I decided to drop it on their shoulders. Now, let me ask you, the listener, the viewer sitting there right now, what do you think? Was I too harsh? Should I have just let them have the house, the money, the inheritance, even after they spat in my face and called me a burden? Or did they deserve it? Did Amanda deserve to see her smug little world crumble when she realized she had no claim to the home she bragged about? Did David deserve to sit there in silence, forced to confront the truth about the father he betrayed? I don't know. Maybe I went too far. Maybe I didn't go far enough. That's why I'm here. To ask you, am I the holy asterisk asterisk? Before you answer, let me leave you with this. Respect your elders, not because they're perfect, not because they never made mistakes, but because one day you'll be old too, and you'll pray that the people you love remember the sacrifices you made. Family is supposed to be about loyalty, about gratitude, about love, and when those things disappear, all that's left is paper, deeds, wills, documents that decide who wins and who loses. I'd rather have love than paper. But when love was gone, paper was all I had, and I made sure it counted. So what do you think? Am I the villain of the story or the hero of my own? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found yourself hooked by this story, if you felt the sting of those words, if you cheered the reveal, or if you ever felt underestimated yourself, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with a friend, and subscribe for more stories like this. Because sometimes the quietest voices have the loudest endings.